seat.
Can I go talk to the honor recruiters?
Are you on their list?
No, but I just really feel like I want to.
Wait till those guys come back. Hey, it is October the 20th, and today we're going to finish up our lecture on our last thing that had to do with the equilibrium. And then we're going to start going into the next one that has to do with different kinds of businesses in certain ways, or competition, different kinds of competition. So your notes are in the Google Classroom. If you want to follow along the slides there, I printed them up. Well, I saved them as a PDF copy so you can go in and look at them. So let's go ahead and see, shall we? Now let the computer turn on. Sure. But, oh yeah, before we start, just as a note, I assigned for you to read this here. It's called the von Mises. So it's from an economist called Ludwig von Mises. And I attached a document for you to read. You see here, it says 18 pages. It's actually less than that. A lot of it's footnotes. But yes, this is important. I want you to read this. I want you to submit your paper through either in person or through the classroom. And I would like to have it in 1 week, by Tuesday. We're probably going to talk about it tomorrow or on Friday, though. So make sure you read it. Read the introduction, read the conclusion, read all of it. This is important. This is for us. We don't have textbooks, so we read the articles I find for you instead. But the articles in many ways are much more useful than any textbook we get for an economics class. Because just trust me. All right. So moving on from there, at the Roaring 20s equilibrium. So remember last time we left off way back when, before my memory started, we were talking about prices. How prices are something that can help control supply and demand. And it's an easy thing to use to change those controls. It's easier than putting out more product, and it's easier than convincing people that they really want or need something. So how does scarcity of an item affect its price? If there is a scarcity of an item, that means there's not much of it, then the price will be high. We know that. We've already taken notes on that. We were talking about supply. So examples, gasoline. When there's a gas shortage, especially say before a hurricane, the prices of gas would go high. However, that's where we have a price ceiling set by the government so that people aren't price gouging. You're right. And so
that's actually a big thing during, I forgot what was the last hurricane that ripped through Houston.
Mm-hmm.
There was a big thing on Walmart and I think Home Depot were selling water bottles for way too high, like $32.
Oh, yeah. Well, there was a lot of that too during, of course, the Corona scare. And this goes back all the way to even medieval times, when you would have people do it in times of famine. They would try to sell wheat, flour, for like high prices when it was scarce, right? And so usually cities made laws where you'd be hung for that kind of thing, or at least fined. So how does a boycott affect the price? If an item is being boycotted, then the price will often go down. So if nobody's buying it by choice, or if less people are, then there's more of it to sell. They have to get rid of it. The price goes down. If everyone stopped buying gas, the price of gas would drop. Yeah, so y'all stop driving, all right?
Would.
Now, gas is actually okay right now. I like
It's not doing well.
I mean, I get like a full tank for $18, so I'm happy about it.
Yeah, thanks to the Rona scare, a lot of people stopped driving, and that affects it big time.
It
So
did.
they got a lot of
Did you say
things.
Rona scare?
Yeah. And oil companies were affected as well.
A lot, I don't know why, but like the oil is a very unstable job.
It has been for a very, very long time. I mean, if you do it right, get the right job, they say you can save up your cash and do well. But if you're doing it, you're blowing your money off, well, not too good if you get laid off. a lot of those jobs are rather unstable. All right, I think this is the last one. So how does the war in Afghanistan affect the price of certain items?
Wait a minute.
We already had a question on this one here. Let's go ahead and switch to the next topic.
So the
So,
last one was how does the Afghanistan war affect supply?
yeah, we already did that. So, all right, so here's our next lecture. I just want to go through the end of that one. This one's called Models of Competition. So you can remember one of the things I mentioned was monopolies. This, of course, was a major problem in the late 19th century. And even today, they say that there's still monopolies, especially tech giants.
Google's
Yeah.
actually getting sued. Actually, not getting sued by a single individual. It's actually being brought to court this time. It got brought to court today from 11 states, and the federal government have said, "Hey, Google, nice trust you got there," because they actually found out Google was using its leeway to destroy competition in the United States. So it's a
Well,
monopoly.
I can see that Google's used for almost everything. I mean, look at, like, just my work stuff, almost everything's a Google-based application, for one, not to mention the search engine, it's well beyond that.
And well, Google's got in big trouble in 11 states and the federal government.
Doesn't Google own YouTube?
Yep.
No way.
It owns YouTube.
Since when?
Since like
Yeah.
5 years ago.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
freaking 2013.
Yeah, so that's like almost all of my internet use right there is like some kind of Google thing or YouTube.
Wow.
Like in the
That's why
class.
it's being in trouble.
That's why you're like freaking email if you have an email with Gmail.
Yeah.
It's linked to like Google Play Store and YouTube.
I just
Yeah,
thought
they have
I
all
just
your
thought
passwords,
they had a
everything,
deal
yeah.
or something where they could.
mention Microsoft.
Yeah, Microsoft is
No,
really,
not
really
Google.
expanded too, because, well, what else does Microsoft own?
They own Xbox, they own multiple game studios. They also own Windows. They
Yeah, I
own
use
the
Windows.
Microsoft game
Bing.
stores. They
Why don't you calm down about
they own like
Microsoft owning
tons of
things?
stuff. And there's like 3
Microsoft.
gaming giants:
Mhm.
Xbox, PlayStation,
Yeah, but does-
Nintendo.
Mm.
But they
Xbox
make
is the big
fine.
one. And they just bought big video game company.
And since they own the computer side of things, they're locking out
yeah.
PlayStation and Nintendo from their social computer.
Well,
They wrote their own PlayStation.
that's me, I think.
No,
Wait.
instead they're locking out PlayStation from putting their stuff on computers.
So they're blocking them out of a segment of the market. And yeah, that's something that monopolies do and we're supposed to prevent. So yeah, and now Microsoft has been in trouble for monopoly purposes before years and years ago, if I remember right, but I don't remember the details. No, Microsoft. Hey, folks, let's go ahead and move on. So, what are models of competition? So here's the definition for you guys and gals. A model of competition is a description of a type of market that a particular business or industry operates in. This is also known as a market structure. So you might want to annotate or shorten that definition. Remember, your tests and your quizzes are based off of these, like the notes that we get off of here. Some of your papers will count as quizzes too. Some of them will count as daily grades. Of course, your warm-ups also count as daily grades. So we're all set there. But if you miss a day, please make sure that you check your assignments, check the lecture if we have them. We don't always have it on economics, but we do very often.
So.
Soldier boy. Did you guys know that he made his own console?
Texas.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you know that he
How
accused
Texas
Ariana
was
Grande
way
for
back
stealing
by-
flow?
by the law
You know the song? You know Instead of
Okay,
Rain?
and how they started the idea,
Is she
of
white?
No, she's like
the American cowboy.
No.
Really?
Have you seen her
I just
before?
finished a book
Italian?
about
That's quite literally
Um,
white.
No, she wasn't.
She was on
how Mao first ran China after the revolution. And that was pretty graphic.
Okay, yeah.
Those missing a lot of minor folds.
Oh, interesting.
Not
Yeah,
like,
man, she doesn't
not
look too
like
fat.
minors, but
You
like
got- I'm
minors.
gonna be real with you.
Oh, okay,
She's not
okay.
fat at all.
And apparently they had this thing called morphine.
Compared to her now.
I've heard of
Look
it.
at this.
No.
Look at this.
So back in like the old days, like Nevada, Utah, and all those places,
What's
they
the
had these
difference?
tents. And it was filled to the brim with morphine.
Yes.
Dude, there was never a collapse in the mine and they had no way out.
No,
They
she
were destined
didn't.
to die from like starvation.
This is a fake
They would
shot.
instead choose their own way out by, using the morphine.
First of all, she's not.
Did they drink it?
Yes, or, well,
Okay.
yeah.
okay.
They
Took
took
shots of
morphine.
morphine?
Okay,
They,
so this.
they drink
This
themselves to
picture?
death with morphine because they'd rather go like that than being
She's literally
suffocated in the mine.
That's terrible. Yeah.
She's
Not a lot of people, not a lot of miners like talk about it because it's mostly in Catholic towns. Only the people in the town really knew why.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Look at that.
All right, folks. Hey, let's go ahead and move on. So, 4 types of models of competition: perfect competition, monopoly, monopolistic competition, and oligopoly.
Isn't monopolistic competition like comparable to like just big tech giants, Apple, Google?
Yeah, because that's where you have the, and that's more like what we had for the most part in like the late 19th century. So you would have like 4 major railroad companies, and they agreed to squash out the little guys and just work together to corner the
Union
market.
Pacific and the others.
Yeah.
When I was at White House, I took business, not business, not BIM, business principles of business, and something. And it was basically this class, and I'm just realizing it. We
That's
talked about all
true.
this stuff. And
I
it
was talking with Dr. Elliott. Yeah, he was talking about the things in his principal business, and it's very,
yeah.
very similar.
But that's all right. I mean, the
No,
thing
it's
is,
yeah.
a lot of
Did you tell him?
a lot of parents are like, "Hey, school needs to help our kids figure out how to do things like with money and figuring out what they want to do, like as a job." And this can help somewhat with that. Help you out. Okay. Well, you want to know my method? I use Tax Act, and then I just punch in the numbers, and then I get my money.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry.
So the past 2 years, I've been stressing about getting out in the real world, paying taxes, and you're
Yeah.
telling me I can just punch in my numbers in the machine.
Yeah. Welcome to adulthood. All right. So moving right along. Now, my wife's great grandmother, who's 96, still does hers by paper. Okay, she's been doing
Does
them for
what?
like almost
I
like a
can't
century,
imagine.
like that,
I
right?
can't
So that's fine. That's fine. But you live in the age of technology. Why would you worry about the paper? Right?
Because everybody's telling me.
Who's everyone? I ain't telling you that. I'm not.
No, not everyone. I'm exaggerating, but people are telling me like, you gotta learn how to do this. You gotta learn how to do this, like in school.
Yeah.
And then I'm looking at the real world, like right at the window, and it's saying like, hey, you got your driver's license. You gotta do this. And then I'm looking back at school. I'm like,
Yeah.
you ain't giving me none of this. You ain't giving me none of this where I'm supposed to learn. I get the part that you're teaching me how to learn, but I am not.
So
I
you
need to learn
don't.
about this in a learning way.
The real world is you activist test, and all you had to study was a Papa John's menu.
Yeah. Hey, well, I'm sorry. If you don't have your driver's license, like that sounds like something you need to contact the that thing near. Gosh, the name is escaping. Right. Down the road from UT Tyler. Just go down there. Not UT Tyler, but the driver's license office, where the state troopers are. And all that.
If you're heading down like your university academy, instead of taking a left to go to like this steak and shake,
Yeah.
go right,
Yeah, right.
and then left, you'll see the driver's stuff.
Yeah. If you've seen the swimming place, you've gone too far. Hey, all right. So perfect competition. A market structure in which a large number of firms, businesses produce the same product. So this is what you're supposed to have in a free market society. It could be, and it doesn't have to necessarily be laissez-faire, like totally open capitalism. But this is like the ideal. Whenever you have a market structure that's like this, that's when you have something like American Shells, where you can have like 12 different kinds of ketchup instead of just one, like where you can have different kinds of soaps or deodorants according to your taste, where everything isn't just produced in one way like you would in a controlled, like say like in like a Marxist society, where there's only one kind of peanut butter. It's the government peanut butter. There's one kind of cheese. There's one kind of deodorant for everybody. So, yeah, there's diversity in the marketplace. So people are allowed to make more decisions, and the best things tend to stay, and the smaller things can either change or they're driven out of the market because no one buys their stuff.
Wait, what is your favorite type
You
of
only
ketchup?
have one type of car.
I like that the Whataburger spicy ketchup.
I
Like, that's
understand. How can I say?
I got-
love that stuff.
I buy it by the
You only
bottle.
have one
I'll
type
put it
of
on.
I like my fancy ketchup. My Whataburger fancy ketchup.
My wife got me some sugar, like no sugar added ketchup. And it's good, but it doesn't taste like ketchup. It tastes like something different altogether. It's like weird.
And what's sugar in it?
Yeah.
So, I'm actually not this hard. I'm not allowed to drink milk anymore. Now I have to drink unsweetened almond milk.
There's lactose-free milk. Are you just allergic to dairy or lactose?
Lactose.
Then like get lacted or that like I
Lactate.
Lactate. Yeah, I drink. I don't care.
I didn't drink coconut milk.
I don't drink. I drink half a pot of coffee every day, and I do not drink coffee without milk.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, I did.
Please don't.
All right, on that fine gassy note, let's go on to the next one. So, 4 conditions of a perfect competition. So, the first is many buyers and sellers. People have lots of options to choose from where they buy from. So, like we're saying here, there's a lot of different kinds of stores. There's a lot of different kinds of manufacturers to provide these choices. You're able to go through different mediums. So you can, that's a lot of choice when you think about it, because if you like a certain kind of product, you're like, so I like ketchup, but you're like, then you get to choose what store you get the ketchup from. And then you get to choose what kind of ketchup. And so you have choices all through that. And there's a lot of other people out there who are making different choices to keep the choices going, because they're all pumping money into the market to increase demand for different kinds of ketchups and stuff.
If everyone, like every single product was identical, like
Ketchup is just your.
that would be pretty bad.
It would be. It would be. Shh, hey guys.
Because, you go using ketchup, you go to the store and you can get, the Whataburger ketchup that's on the bottle, you can get Heinz, you can get all
Yeah.
different kinds of Heinz, you can get there's so many different kinds. Hunt's, I think there's one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they all taste a little bit different.
I mean, if we didn't have it, the best you could do is just buy ingredients and try to make your own the way you like it.
But that thing identical, so they would all taste exactly
But
the
the
same.
swinger, that's how
Yeah.
a lot of companies start up.
Yeah.
They find something that they enjoy, but they don't like it exactly like how it is, so they'll try to make their own version of it,
Yeah.
and that's what's popular. That's how a lot of of fast food restaurants became very popular, because
Yeah.
think about Whataburger, McDonald's.
Mm-hmm.
McDonald's did their own thing at first, because instead of you driving up and you waiting for your food to come out,
Yeah.
you would go up and get your own food.
Yeah.
That was new. That was a new industry practice, and that new industry practice inspired a lot more, such as the aeronautics guy down in Corpus Christi with Whataburger.
Hey, Corpus Christi, I live there.
Oh,
Okay.
I've been to the Whataburger HQ.
It's two
stories.
It's a two-story Whataburger.
It's awesome. I ate on the second story of that Whataburger.
I saw that.
I've even had
This is your right now.
Yeah.
But they're all identical, and there's a bunch of companies all making the same thing. There wouldn't really be any company that would be able to succeed in the
Yeah.
because they'd all be the same.
Yeah. Hey, Bryson, keep it down.
Without something that's identifying of a specific brand,
Yeah.
they're all exactly the same.
You're right. You couldn't differentiate. It'd be some would sink, some would sim. It'd be based on things you can't really control. All right, so let's go ahead and move on. Though I think we spent enough time on many buyers and sellers. Number 2 for the 4 conditions of perfect competition: identical products. There are no differences between what is sold and the different suppliers, so they're exactly the same. So So this is another thing where you can have like branding, I think is what we're talking about here. Another condition, inform buyers and sellers. Buyers know the prices and quality of the product sold by all vendors to make the best decision. And so this used to be by word of mouth. And so you would discuss with people, or sometimes salespeople would have input on this. Of course, nowadays you have reviews. Hopefully the reviews you're looking at aren't like basically by people paid to be professional reviewers. There is a lot of that out there. Before I was teaching, I worked a few months at Suddenlink, kind of like as an in-between job before the school year started. And I found out even like Suddenlink has like a department, and their whole job is to go to different websites and to see how they're rated and to challenge those ratings, right? So people are like, Suddenlink sucks, 1 star. Their job is to go in and have that company get rid of that 1-star rating.
What?
So companies have departments like that. All companies, major companies have that.
Fun job to do.
So be a little wary of reviews. Sometimes they're not authentic.
Wait,
You know?
I just thought about it. It would be impossible to have identical products in some industries. Like, let's say the music industry.
Yeah.
It'd be impossible to have like one artist be on every single label. They have to go in for every single label and have the exact same recording.
What I think
And then
this
how
would
they
have
get the
to
rights
be
it.
is identical product in either genre or mode. Like identical, like they're all records, right? So it's different music but different records. It's all identical in that it's all like, I don't know, bread, but there's different kinds of bread. So we know bread's bread,
Gasoline.
Then why does it say
Gasoline would be
identical?
gasoline. and really-
I
and really
think-
tracks are-
Yeah, similar sounds better, I think.
Did I change my notes?
Uh,
Similar?
If
And
you want to.
gasoline will always be gasoline. You can't really-
That's true,
Unless it's unleaded or leaded.
or with or without ethanol too.
And also, railroad tracks, those are standardized.
Yeah,
Every single train has to use the same exact train, exact same.
okay, so that's a good point, but you have different companies make it. So it's based on bidding who can produce it the least for certain areas and stuff. So that can be competition. So, okay, yeah, I think I understand now. All right, number 4, free market entry and exit. Businesses can enter the market when they can make money and exit when they can't. So this can be a problem because there's certain parts of the world where it's very difficult to create businesses. So there might be certain things like there's like extreme amount of licensing, like some parts of the European Union are like this. Or you might be restricted because, let's say, if you were in a society that had a class system and your class wasn't allowed to do a certain thing, like be a merchant.
India.
So that could be something. And exiting. So this is something that you might find in certain countries, like state-run countries, where you have to keep the factory open and the government mandates it, even if you're not doing well. So even if you're at a complete loss, they'll make you keep the factory open, even if you're not profiting it, if it's running you into the ground. Yeah.
So there are actually a lot of like headquarters in Hong Kong for like a lot of Fortune 500 companies.
Mhm.
Right whenever Hong Kong was taken by China, they were gone.
I bet. I
They were
mean,
gone. Like those offices were empty the next day.
there were on that point. 1 second. Hello.
This one's mine.
Michael to the front with his things.
I know.
Thank you. Hey, there was pictures coming out of Hong Kong just a week after that where school libraries were showing like piles of books that were being hauled away to be burned. Like they were like literally right after the Chinese took over, they were like already getting rid of books and stuff. They were deleting databases. So they had a complete control of information almost immediately. So yeah, I'm glad I don't live there. My heart goes out to
Why
them.
are you being serious?
Let's go to the next one. You'll have to remember this is all online, Michael.
I appreciate it.
So what type of businesses are perfectly competitive? See ya. So you have things like farm markets and public markets. So these are things where you have people who just grow their own thing. They enter as they wish to. There's not really any rules or anything like that. Many buyers and sellers. A carrot from Farmer Brown is equal to a carrot from Farmer Jones, identical products. So, like we were talking about with Michael with railroad tracks and all that. Buyers can compare prices and quality by walking to the market. So, you walk to the market, you can discuss with others, you're informed of what's going on. Farmers choose to bring produce or not, inexpensive to rent a space in the market. So
Wouldn't the quality of it make it non-identical though?
I would imagine so, but the form of it, like you could, that's where like the informed buyer and seller, you'd be like, hey, Farmer's Brown's carrots, they don't taste as sweet as like Jones, So then you
They're
could,
not identical, because it said right there, carrot from Farmer Brown is equal to carrot from Farmer Jones.
yeah,
But then it doesn't make any sense.
it is a bit strange when you think about it, because you're right, like, if you're hard to the definition, something can't be identical and different at the same time. But I think it'd be better to say that it has the same identity than it is identical. Because if it has the same identity, like they're both carrots, that doesn't mean they're necessarily equal, So you can have good carrot, bad carrot, they're still carrots. So it's a little confusing in my part.
Well, you said you didn't make these slides.
Because they keep the,
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
but they're like.
So this is simply an example for you.
Aside from like Primarks.
You seen that?
Oh, yeah.
Also, there's the free market entry makes it with that example because even though it's expensive for its base, it's not free.
So since it's not free, it might turn people away. Yeah, I could see that. But that is the thing. Everything is going to have cost.
Well, then how can it be free market entry?
It's free market as in you're allowed to choose. I think it's more of a matter of choice. No, like free market, like you're free to choose what happens in the market and whether you participate. Not necessarily it's like, hey, it's free booth. Go ahead. Anybody get the free booth. Let's go ahead.
I guess the free booth would be like
She was
showing
like
people deals that they're pulling up with the trailers. Like, oh,
Yeah, like on the side of the road, like guys selling watermelon or something like that. All right, next one. Shh. All right, so are there many perfectly competitive businesses? No. All four of the conditions must be met for perfect competition. This is very difficult in most industries. Often people can only buy from one supplier. Like, you might find this to be the case for some people when it comes to getting satellite or internet or something like that in certain service areas. Products are rarely identical. That's definitely true. Things like you just go try to buy a watch. You'll see that not all the watches are identical. Buyers often do not know if a product is cheaper, better than a different supplier. There's a lot of things you don't know are factually true. Sometimes it can do with deception. Sometimes it's from lack of information. Barriers to entry prevent free market entry. So some of those barriers are like cost, travel. Yes.
It says perfect competition, but would this technically make it imperfect? Because if all products are identical and all its conditions are met, then all it takes is just one of them lowering their price, and then that one instantly gets it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That it is almost like a misnomer because the whole point of competition is to see what's best. However, if all things are equal and perfectly equal, it's no longer a competition. It's just equality. So yeah, it really is. It's like a paradox almost. But I think that the semantics of it kind of gets in the way of what they're trying to get at. So I think it's just, this is their definition for it. Because, every kind of different field has their own definitions. Sometimes a word doesn't make sense for the definition unless you're in that business, like mathematicians and stuff like that. So esoteric stuff can be a little weird. All right, moving on. All right, barriers to entry. The definition of barriers to entry is factors that make it difficult for new firms to enter a market. So we were just talking about a couple of these. So startup costs. the expenses that a new business must pay before the first product reaches the customer. These expenses, we've talked about this before when we were talking about what it took to like open a pizza business, if you remember. So examples are rent, machines, product, labor. There's a lot of things that can go into that. And labor is not just paying wages. Sometimes labor could also mean supplying them with equipment, uniforms, training, doing human resources, like hiring and stuff like that, making sure that they have the benefits that they might legally be required to have. Technology. Some markets require a high degree of technological know-how. As a result, new entrepreneurs cannot easily enter these markets. So higher degree of technology, so that can be a major factor. If you're trying to do things like if you're trying to sell certain kind of textiles and you're trying to do it by hand, you're not really going to put out that much. Whereas you might have somebody who has a mill that's run by robots and stuff like that, and you're not really going to compete that well. Software from pharmaceutical companies. So yeah, I mean, that's a major one. Like the days of people mixing up chemicals in their basement lab to make like a new compound to like fight a disease it's kind of over. So
Thankfully.
and that, yeah, it's hit or miss, right? Nowadays, it's major, expensive companies that do this kind of research. And often the compounds they have to create are through very exact and difficult measures. And not to mention the legality of it all. They have to be able to measure these things and be sure what they're doing, because not only do they face liability, but they also face the fact that if they put out a compound, the same thing that someone else already has a copyright on, they could get in big trouble for that. So right down to the molecule, they have to be exact. So.
Yeah, but.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Because I watched the last first before I knew about it.
He plays the work there. I did too. Because I heard your voice and I was like, what?
Okay, that song or the distributed one?
I'm bad, man. A bad day. Steamrolling, whatever I see. Oh, the despicable me. I don't know.
I like the ones
The what?
I just like the Grinch movie with Jim Carrey. Okay.
I like the very end.
Then just put a costume on Jim Carrey instead of Jim Carrey.
I like the very end of the,
So how'd it go? That's my seat, bro.
No
No,
way.
it's not. That's your
I have no control over any
And
of
that's my
this.
pen. No, it's not. That's
No,
your pen.
this is my pen.
Stop.
Stop.
Stop it.
Where's your pen? Here's you. This is
Okay.
you.
What about my little velvet case for my
I'm not
pen?
making- I'm not.
Hey, is that your velvet case or is that his?
Take it.
This is definitely. It's ripped.
I don't know about that. She's gonna hold it like a finger. Oh, despicable me. That was pretty funny. I'm having a bad day. No, it goes. If you take it personal, that's okay. It's about time that I get my way. Steamrolling whatever I see.
What, Sergeant Walker?
Oh, yeah, no, dude.
All right, folks, let's go to the next one. Wait, no, we're gonna stop there because next
You
part's
got a
Monopoly.
desk up here?
So, hey, we're gonna come back next time. We're gonna start talking about monopolies and, of course, oligopolies and all those good things on Thursday. Don't forget, we also have economics class on Friday as well this week. So, in any case, make sure you go into Google Classroom, read the document I sent you and write that paper. That goes to everybody here or not here. Talk to you later, kids.